So, just very briefly, with a little bit less time involved now, and we're going to sort of speed up some of these slides, certainly at the start and the end, but we really want to make sure you've got some time at the end there to ask questions. So, first of all, my name's Ed McManus. I'm a principal biodiversity scientist here at Cefas. And I've been working at Cefas for 15 years. That's, well, 15, that's 15, not 50. I guess I get any cheeky comments from colleagues out there. Tim, do you want to introduce yourself as well, my co-presenter?
Yeah, I'm Tim Earle. I've been working as a stock assessment scientist for the last decade or so, 13 years at Cefas. And if we could just remind people that we're recording this presentation, so if you don't want to be recorded, you should please leave.
Yeah.
But I hope.
Yeah, but please stay. That wasn't a weren't trying to fish out the door. Okay, so welcome to Cefas. Welcome to Cefas Future Oceans. And may I ask everybody to first of all mute their microphones, because I'm hearing a little bit of reverberation, so please, thank you. Yes, so welcome to Future Oceans and welcome to the careers discussion session. So essentially the objective of this presentation is to really highlight that there are many routes into marine biology which aren't always obvious to many. Quick bit of housekeeping. As I said, please mute mics, and at the end raise hands for the questions. And as Tim has said, and for those who are just arriving, we are recording, so if you feel a bit bashful or don't want to be recorded, unfortunately you'll have to leave. But onward, ever onward. Reduced time of the talk means it's going to be 15 minutes for myself and Tim to go through some slides, leaving plenty of time for some questions as well, so we'll try and stick to that as best as possible. Tim will provide a quick overview of Cefas, then we'll talk a little bit about excitingly named slide on great white sharks have many friends, but essentially that's just saying that understanding a species or a habitat, you can deploy many disciplines. Then we'll talk a little bit about routes into marine careers, indirect and direct. And then we'll have a few stories from some very interesting individuals called Ed and Tim. We did try and achieve a better gender balance in this session, but unfortunately others were off doing other things in other parts of today. So, and then we'll talk a little about studies and work experience and networking, etc. All good stuff. Then we'll have time for questions. So, Tim, over to you. Just a quick overview of Cefas. Sorry, if I may, just my take-home message. I'm trying to be too quick here. Take-home message of today is very simple. Study what you love and you are good at, and then excel in that. And that might be a range of different sciences, etc. So, apologies, Tim. On you go.
Thanks. Yeah. So Cefas provides marine and freshwater science expert advice to the UK government. We originate from MAF, the Ministry for Agriculture, Food and Fisheries, which is a predecessor to DEFRA, and so that's always been part of our core role, providing advice to the UK government. We also provide advice to other governments and work on commercial contracts as well with a wide range of organisations. Those cover climate change, both mitigation and assessing the impacts, some biodiversity, pollution, so planning emergency responses, investigating the effects of pollution, and food from water theme that covers managing fisheries stocks sustainably, managing aquaculture, making sure that food, shellfish, is healthy and safe to eat. We have around 600 staff, nominally based across Lowestoft, Weymouth and Q8. At the moment, spread more disparately than that due to us mostly working from home. But yeah, primarily based in Lowestoft and Weymouth. Do I have to say next slide, please?
Yeah, well, I was trying to be telepathic, but then I couldn't get it to do next slide, so just bear with me. There we go.
Brilliant. So this might be a typical example of a path into marine science, a marine biologist who's used to measuring, collecting biological samples from marine species. But there's a whole range of other ways to get into marine sciences. So if we work around those, there's the biologist working on understanding biodiversity loss. We've got hydrographers, not just in Cefas, but in the whole marine science, looking at analysing data for safe navigation, for wrecks. We have geographers looking at what habitat is suitable for different species, doing spatial and geographic analysis. We've got mathematicians. I firmly put myself in this box as a stock assessor, trying to work out how many of different species there are, how many can be taken sustainably while still ensuring that the stock is fit for survival. And we have modelers across a whole range of areas in Cefas, including climate impacts. We've got physicists. So a couple of examples there would be looking at noise pollution, looking at the spread of radioactivity in water and the marine environment. Chemists looking at pollution, typically in the marine environment. And we've got a whole range of economists who are helping to understand the importance of different species, what causes fishermen to behave in particular ways, how to balance tourism, commercial interests. And then we have a whole range of specialists in some quite esoteric areas in some ways, drone flying to map habitats. We've got geologists, we've got electronic engineers building kit that needs to go in the marine environment and survive at incredible depths and pressures. And we have the whole range of support services that you'd expect from a business of this size as well.
Brilliant.
Thanks,
Tim. Right. So next slide, we're going to consider a little bit about the sort of direct and maybe emphasize some of the less direct opportunities, ways into marine sciences. In other words, a different perspective from what Tim's just presented. So the classic way into Cefas or a similar institute would be to go to Bangor, do marine biology, go to Newcastle, study coral reefs, come to Cefas, have a great job. But just a little anecdote, and previous management training course I was on, there's about 100 of us in the room. We were asked how many of us were marine biologists or ecology background, whatever. There's only 2 or 3 of us stuck our hands up, which I find really fascinating. As a group manager, I used to manage a group of very brilliant individuals similar to Tim, just essentially pure mathematicians able to carry out a range of different modelling. So clearly there are other routes in rather than just marine biology. A nice example of a kind of an indirect marine route is doing a bachelor's, for example, in something like geography, and then maybe having some time working in construction, marine consultancy, and then moving to Cefas. And I'll provide my own insights into that later. But clearly, a government, as you'll be aware, wants to know a little bit more about, wants more holistic information based on which it can make decisions. And for those of you who listened to George Eustace speaking earlier on, there's a lot to be, in terms of our economy and GDP to be considered as well. So thinking of that, an indirect route, which is non-marine, is, for example, doing a BTEC in accounting, working through to doing a bachelor's in economics, and then moving through to doing a master's in environmental economics, for example. And we have some great examples in an ever-growing, blossoming environmental economy team. If you want to know more about that, we can tell you more. Again, take home message, study what you enjoy, and then come and work at Cefas or similar institutes. Oh yeah, so how on earth did I get here? Good question. Try and make this quick. I was born in Belfast, if you can tell by the accent. And I saw Jaws at an early age. And when I used to go to beaches, I was more used to seeing men with guns, army men rather than marine biologists. So I used to hang out in libraries a lot and get excited, get interested, and start to develop a passion. Then I went to university, first of all, at King's College London, and studied mostly neurology, got really interested in neuroanatomy and behavior. Then I went to do work experience in Miami University's Pimmy Shark Lab in the Bahamas and got really interested in neurology. And then went on to Manchester Uni to do behavioral ecology as a master's. And then I was thinking about doing a PhD, but then again, part of this discussion is taking risks. I was offered then my first job with Sir John Beddington's Marine Resource Assessment Group. And that's me holding a shark, going off and having fun in fisheries all over the world. And after that, I've spent 5 years there. I did 5 years at UNEP WCMC, mostly working in protected areas and multilateral environmental agreements, reporting. And then I joined Cefas all of those years ago, 15, not 50. And I'm now program director for Commonwealth Marine Economies Programme, which is works with Commonwealth islands, including Belize, and that's the name of the presentation. So some key learning points. At a consultancy, you learn, in this case, fishery stuff. But in the consultancy, you learn a lot about business development. The whole thing is really based around bringing in great work, achieving, providing really high quality results, and getting more repeat business. UNEP did a lot of, got used to international work, working with NGOs, and at Cefas, there's a lot of government to government work. So they're all very different, and the great thing about going through different employers, you learn different things. So just very quickly, and again, apologies, I don't know exactly who's out there, but essentially listening to the presentation, but essentially, if you're choosing A levels, then 2 sciences are recommended, but as we've already mentioned, there's lots of other things to learn apart from sciences. If A levels aren't for you, BTEC's fantastic. My son's lined up to do one here in Norwich, but other places, loads of places do applied sciences or access courses, for example, in Plymouth. University degrees with bachelor's, master's, PhD, increasing research, increasing independence. But simply to say that at Cefas, we have staff who hold a bachelor's and or a master's and or a PhD. So really wide range of staff, and those have come in through apprenticeship routes or Open University, etc. So there are many different routes in. And finally here, thinking about other activities to support developing your career, networking, join a society, join an association or a Facebook network. The key thing is just getting to know people, understanding what the opportunities are out there. And work experience, say I did a bit, and there's other great opportunities available in the National Marine Aquarium, for example, and also skill up is a key thing. So, augment your skill set with scuba diving, becoming a marine surveyor and other things. So finally to say, consultancies are excellent routes in. So you've got lots of marine ones, some listed here, and there's also great construction companies as well. So for example, I'm working with Atkins on the Commonwealth Marine Economies Programme. So lots of routes in. Tim, I wasn't going to turn this into an interview, so I'll let you go through it. How did you get where you are now, Tim?
So my background's really as a mathematician. I identified at a fairly young age that this was something I was good at and that I really enjoyed. And really, my strategy has been to find interesting things to do with that. And that's how I've ended up as a fisheries scientist. So my main route into Cefas then was doing a maths degree, following on from my enthusiasm for the subject, and I did a PhD, which was a modelling exercise looking at the use of the effect of land use within river catchments across the UK on the amount of nitrates and phosphates measured in the river. And that was actually sponsored by Cefas, and had a chance to come to Lowestoft and meet some of the people here. And it put me in mind that it was a place I'd be interested in working. So when I came to get a job, I took the modelling skills that I'd got from riverine nutrients and persuaded people here that I could take them and apply them to how radionuclides spread in particularly the marine environment, but also to some extent the terrestrial environment. And I then moved on to applying these same modelling skills to fish in the marine environment. So that's the broad outline of how I got to being a fisheries scientist. In terms of advising other people about how to get a similar career, the answer is I don't know. It certainly wasn't a strategy planned, but I would say to grab opportunities where you can. That's probably picking up your theme, Ed, that throughout my career, I've looked at things that look interesting, given them a try. Sometimes I've enjoyed doing them and tried to do more of them. Sometimes I haven't enjoyed them, and you learn from that experience too that that's not the way you want to take your career. And so that brings me on, I suppose, to why I like working at Cefas. We have a huge range here of colleagues with a variety of specialisms. So if I'm running a stock assessment on fish, I know that there are experts out there in the data collection of catch data. There are experts in the biology of the data, and people who can set up and run the surveys to estimate the stock and abundance. And people who will take the analysis I've done and turn that more into advice. So that combination of people working together always gives an opportunity to learn new things and to make the science as effective as possible. And so that leads to having an impact on fisheries management quickly. So I'll be running a stock assessment over the next few weeks. We'll be discussing that at international meetings in September, hopefully get agreement on it. And that will set the catch limit around South Georgia, for example, in the South Atlantic, by the 1st of December. And it may not be just the catch limit, but also management measures coming in quickly as a result of the analysis we're doing here. And support for development. So the picture shows me actually at sea, which is not my natural environment, gathering data. And that the advantage of working in a big organisation like Cefas is that there are these opportunities to go and find out about how interacting work, the data gathering. There are opportunities to chair meetings, opportunities to manage people or to set strategy, and these opportunities come up, and there's something I'd say grab them. So I'd say that's the theme to the presentation, really.
Brilliant. Thanks, Tim. Okay, so that was the end of our presentation. So thank you, everybody, for listening. And now we have a few minutes for questions, 10 minutes for questions. So I'm just going to stop sharing, go to the normal view, and that's it. Okay. So if I can just quickly ask if there anybody has any questions for either myself or Tim, or indeed generally about Cefas or routes in. Don't be bashful.
If you've got a question, you can either put up your hand or type it in the chat messages.
Oh yeah. So whilst we're just waiting, Tim, if I may ask you a question, in your group, how many people have a similar background to you? For example, how many people have a pure maths background?
I can think of 3 or 4 other people with a pure maths background. It's very much a minority, but the analysis that we do across the group is fairly numerical in terms of wanting numbers for setting catch limits. And so a lot of us are using numbers from different backgrounds.
Okay, and that's great. Yeah, that's kind of how. Oh, right, here we go. Oh, blimey! Right, I'm gonna have to try and work out who's got their hands up here. Right, brilliant. Emily, hi, Emily. I think you're first.
Brilliant. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Tim. That was great. Really nice to have an insight from both of your backgrounds. So thank you for that. I have a question around what you both do to sort of stay current and up to date on emerging opportunities for development, you know, whether it's attending conferences such as this one, kind of newsletters, proactively going out there and looking around for opportunities, potentially not only in search of new opportunities in terms of, you know, long-term career, but also just development day to day, and things that you're interested in.
Yeah, well, I'll take that one first, if that's okay, Tim. My it's a really interesting question. Cefas, for starters, is incredibly good at personal development. So you're allowed to seek mentors internally or externally. So I had mine as my old boss, actually, Sir John Beddington. I went round to his offices for advice. Then, so that's personal development. They'll help set goals. You're encouraged to go to conferences, especially where it's relevant to your program or your kind of development plan. In my work at the moment, where I'm working across 17 different islands in the Pacific and Caribbean, I find that I not only need to develop my understanding of the science, but it's also very much kind of cultural awareness. So I spend quite a lot of time considering what the different practices are in some of those areas. So I spend quite a lot of time speaking to colleagues and trying to learn more about the different agencies out there and how they operate as well. So it's all very much supported. Tim, what about you?
Yeah, I'd say a couple of things, or a couple of related things really, are other people and networks that just taking the opportunity to chat to people who are working in the marine sciences whenever you meet them about what they're doing. There are almost certainly links. You follow people who are doing interesting things on Twitter, you will almost certainly find out about opportunities, courses being advertised, and possibly even jobs as well. So yeah, I try and expand as much as possible the list of people, the network of people you know.
Great. Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Emily.
Fantastic. Yeah, thank you both.
Great. If you want to find out any more, just give us a buzz. And Katie, you're next. How are you, Katie?
Hello. Yeah,
Hi.
thanks for the great talk. So my question is again surrounding like personal development. So I know we discussed there's no one set path to get anywhere and follow your interests. So I'm at that stage in my career now where I have followed my interests and I'm thinking about my next step. And I wanted to get your views on PhDs, because I've observed that still traditionally with a lot of job applications and recruitment campaigns, it does specify a PhD or equivalent experience, and whether it is prohibitive to not follow the PhD pathway.
Well, just very quickly, I just noticed another couple of hands up there. So if I just take this and then maybe Tim can take the next one, depending. My honest advice, Katie, is if the roles that you're looking at in general seem to require a PhD, then that's probably likely what you're going to need. My decision not to take a PhD was not taken lightly, but I'm really glad I didn't do it. If I'm honest, I would have missed out 3 years development, if you want to call that personal and or professional development.
Yeah.
I'd stick them both together. So it's really about the role that you're taking. If it's kind of right in that end of sort of R&D, you might need the PhD. What I'd also say is, if I might put words in Tim's and other people's mouths, if you come into an organisation like Cefas, then on many occasions the PhDs are actually supported. So just an important thing to keep in mind. You come in with masters or bachelors, and then people end up getting their PhDs whilst working at Cefas. So something to consider there as well.
Okay, yeah, that's great. Thank you. So
thanks, Eddie. Thanks for your question. Jimmy. Oh, sorry. I think Jimmy's just gone there. Joshua.
Oh no, I'm back.
Oh,
sorry.
Hi, Jimmy.
I'd unmuted myself and I muted myself again accidentally. Thanks very much for arranging this. This is a really good session and really encouraging. I'm still forming the question in my head, but it was kind of related, I guess, to recruitment, following on from like the previous questions. And I guess I'd be interested in a researcher role at Cefas, and I guess I just wanted to know a little bit more about what are the sort of main skills and requirements that you would expect from someone fulfilling a researcher role, and is the recruitment process a similar one to the rest of the civil service, and it's sort of competency based, that kind of style?
Yeah, well, to answer the latter bit, yes, competency based completely. Researcher roles. I'd maybe just turn to Tim for a quick response to that as well, so we can make sure we can answer Joshua's question as well.
Yeah, you almost certainly won't find a job advertised that is exactly your specialism that you're researching. So you need to be able to present in your application, and this also addresses to some extent Eleanor's question, how you can apply your skills to what is being asked for as at an interview or as part of the application. So I'd say it doesn't have to be exactly the role that you're looking for. If you find something broadly in the right area, show how you can apply to it. And certainly within Cefas, you often have the opportunity to then mould your role as you develop to what your interests are.
Brilliant. Thanks, Tim, and thank you very much for the question, James. And just quickly, if we can squeeze in Joshua, got 2 minutes left. Hi, Joshua.
Hi, Ed and Tim. Thanks very much for an interesting talk. My question is, you mentioned like mentoring. Is that something that's open to new starters as well as more experienced members of staff at Cefas?
Yes, absolutely. We're all encouraged to have mentors and mentor after a certain level of experience, etc. We were also encouraged, certainly at one point, as some kind of fast stream thing within civil service, and we're encouraged to have external mentors as well. But it is, I've still got a mentor internally in Cefas and meet once a month for a coffee, and it's just to kind of discuss stuff. Like where you want to go, what are your challenges, what do you think you should do next? So it's totally encouraged, and you could easily attain one if you worked in Cefas. Tim, is that your experience?
Yeah, I would say that without a mentor, you're often missing that sort of strategic thinking about the future. Well, you focus much more on what you're doing now, and just taking half an hour or whatever it is with someone else to ask you a few questions about what you're planning can really get your thought processes going in a way that you just don't do on your own. I don't do on my own.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Joshua. Say it's now hit 12 o'clock, and just like to thank everybody for coming. Thank you for showing interest in Cefas. Thank you for showing interest in this session. And if you do want to get in touch and ask any questions after this event, then please do contact us. My name's Edmund McManus at cefas.co.uk. I think I'm on something somewhere. And similar for Tim here. So thank you all very much for coming, and we shall need to switch off now because the new session's starting. Have fun, have a great day, have a great Future Oceans Day. See you later, Tim.
See you. Thanks for all joining us.
Bye now.
Bye.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.